Kate. How are you?
Good to see you, as
Good to
always.
Good to see you.
How are things?
Well, inadequately medicated, as always. But,
Inadequately medicated.
That's
You
right.
did write in your last column, though, about getting the cataract surgery.
I did, yeah, and it's very clear. And I don't know if this is such a good thing. I can see, with great vividness now, color, shape, form, and
Not a good
this
thing.
may not be a good thing.
Are things
As I
coming
walk
in-
down the streets of Providence, I think maybe a little modicum of blindness might be better.
You know what they say about being a Monet?
Yeah,
It,
that's
it
right.
looks nice from far away, but it's a mess up close.
That's right. Well, I'm a mess up close and far away. So, no, I think going around blinders is probably better.
Well, now you can see, clearly. Now the rain is gone.
That's right.
I wanted to pick your brain in a couple things. I know
Sure.
you've got your
Yeah,
notes
well,
here.
yeah. I
What do
just-
you want to
just made
talk
it up.
about?
Actually, I was just going to read from the Bronx Telephone book. It's sort of a random list of names.
I think that might be a crowd favorite.
That's right.
You never know.
Well, I think the names would be very similar to the ones you'd see in the Providence phone book. Maybe a few more Slavic names.
No, but you've got your notes. I've got my notes. I'm
Okay.
gonna. You,
Yeah,
you,
ask
you,
me.
you-
Yeah, go
well,
ahead.
I
Go
want to.
ahead.
Your column is
My
always.
favorite color is chartreuse. Go down the list.
Well, as I was mentioning before, I just did a little live to tell folks we'd be on. I mean, your columns are always such a great intersection of both local politics, international politics, and you had some musings on the passing of David Rockefeller.
Yeah, David Rockefeller was sort of one of the last of the great, what I call imperial New York civic leaders. He was best known as a banker, as chairman of the Chase Bank, which used to be known as the Rockefeller Family Bank. But he was also the last member of the Rockefeller Brothers, which in New York, and in my time, they used to call the Brothers, which included Lawrence John D. Rockefeller III. The most famous one was Nelson, the vice president and longtime governor of New York. And I'm missing Winthrop, who had a drinking problem. And who did I forget? Anyway.
So it's just
Rockefeller
the end of an
brothers.
era.
The end of an era, yeah. And they were, they all had their quirks. And I think certainly Nelson and Winthrop especially, not accidentally, coincidentally, they were also politicians. Nelson is a fascinating case. He was a great campaigner, even though he had dyslexia and couldn't read very well. He could great extemporaneous. But he picked the wrong time to run for president. The Republican Party changed under his feet. There's a brilliant sociologist, about 88 years old, called Andrew Hacker. You may have heard of at Columbia University. He's now doing a book about the Republicans. And I expect he's going to get into this. About 1960, when Nelson Rockefeller had just been elected governor of New York, and again, a hell of a campaigner, a lot of charisma, a lot of ideas. He should have run then. Instead, he backed off and let Nixon have the nomination. And between then and 1964, when he really did run, the party had moved south and west and rightward. It'd been kind of left across the country, but rightward ideologically. And he also, in that period, got a divorce, very well publicized divorce and remarriage, which in those days counted a lot. It's hard to believe now.
Well, I'll tell you, there was also a high-profile divorce here in the state that
Yes.
some folks
Right.
paid a little more attention
I
from
saw
the
that. I
media
was
standpoint.
a little bit surprised by the amount of publicity, Mr. Pell and Nancy Kwan.
It's
and,
funny how generationally you said that. Yeah, back then it made a huge deal, and now everyone just kind of.
Well, except I think still with celebrities, and maybe especially with celebrities with big old family names like Pell and Rockefeller, it still counts for something. I was a little bit surprised by that it was on page one, frankly.
I think a lot of folks were surprised.
Everybody read it because everybody's a voyeur. I mean, it's like the Kennedys. But anyway, the Rockefeller thing, this sort of pertains to Rhode Island. So Rockefeller was sort of the last great leader of the so-called liberal Republicans. And you know this term, Rockefeller Republicans.
Rockefeller
That's where it
Republicans, yes.
comes from. And I think probably David Rockefeller, even though he had his issues about Nelson's private behavior, I won't go into clinical detail, but you know what I'm talking about, was the same. Very public spirited, believed in a strong government role, reform, racial equality, environment, Planned Parenthood, all these things. And the Republican Party, with very few exceptions, is now a Southern, Western party, and the sort of people like Rockefeller or John Chafee, who used to be so important in the party, mostly Northeast, Upper Midwest, they're pretty much all gone. The biggest exception is the very impressive Charlie Baker in Massachusetts, who's a brilliant politician, a very good manager. He might actually have a future nationally. I kind of doubt it, because the party's gone so far right, but it's possible.
And
He's such an engaging character.
And you know, very popular up there. The popularity numbers are huge.
Yeah.
And you wrote about
and
it.
competent, too.
Very competent.
Very competent.
You wrote about his decision with MBTA to make sure that the weekend commuter service.
Well, he wanted to. He was thinking about ditching it.
He was
which
thinking
is
about
terrible
ditching
because
it.
it makes the whole thing sound more unreliable. And the one thing that makes public transit work is and transportation in general is predictability, reliability. You make cuts like that at your peril. And there are plenty of people who commute into Boston on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Families,
world
folks
city,
going up
for
to
sure.
just for
Or
tourist
to
purposes.
work, international companies. I remember when I worked for the Herald Tribune in Paris, because not everybody has, Western weekends. So we were often there on the weekend.
Well, there, Charlie Baker.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just talk about
Yeah,
another governor.
yeah.
Let's talk about Governor Raimondo. You
Yeah,
mentioned
I've
her
heard
in
of
the.
her. I've heard of her.
You mentioned
Yeah.
her in your column this week about a piece that Go Local had actually uncovered. It was after it was found that the state police had given a no-bid contract
Right.
to the former sergeant at arms of the U.S. Senate, appointed by Harry Reid, a very
Right.
political post.
Very entirely a political
an
post,
entirely
yeah,
political
yeah.
post, as even in the law enforcement domain, to do the study of diversity within the state police
Yeah,
department.
yeah.
A little
I
searching.
don't know why you need studies of these things to spend all. Can't you just kind of look around? I've never understood all these diversity studies. Just go walk
Well,
around.
There's a good amount of money. It
and
was
talk to people.
six
About 225.
six
grand?
figures, yeah, 225
right,
attached
right.
to it, and a little digging. Follow the money.
Yeah, yeah.
We come to
yeah.
find out he also has a niece who is very much a big power
Right,
player within the
right.
Democratic Party.
And
was
with
on
mayoral ambitions.
mayoral
Right,
ambitions in
yeah.
Chicago and did a television show with Governor
Yeah,
Raimondo.
Right, where Governor Raimondo was talking about the pension reform, which got the governor, the soon-to-be governor, a tremendous amount of national press.
So again, a no bid contract, sort of connecting
Yeah.
the dots of some
A little bit.
little connecting
Yeah.
the dots. I mean, how do you think this
Well,
looks
it's
to
a
the average
problem.
Rhode Islander?
It's bad perception. I'll take Gina Raimondo's word. Take her at her word. She didn't understand what was going on with this thing, but she did recommend this person.
She did.
The quid pro quo, the $1,000. I don't know. It's hard to believe somebody would sort of go down for
For that
$1,000.
level of money.
Having said that, they have to be aware of the perception of this, and these no-bid contracts always smell, fairly or not. And I think that's the problem. And that undermines trust. It undermines trust in the whole sort of administrative and contract side of government. That's why they should be avoided, even for little contracts like this, or little in the cosmic scheme of things, but that's still a lot of money.
So speaking of
Yeah,
contracts,
yeah.
I'm going to put you on your feet a little bit
Yeah,
here because
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
something you had written about, but we had.
Actually, I'm on roller skates. by the way.
You just
Yeah,
can't see
yeah,
it. He just
that's
rolled right in
I
here.
rolled right in.
Bob's
Yeah,
going to roll
right,
right out.
yeah.
We had reported earlier this week the resignation of the City Hall of Providence's
Yeah.
Director of Administration.
Muxian.
Muxian,
Yeah,
over
yeah.
what we have found out to be the nominating someone for the administrative position at the Board of Licenses that she had connections to.
Right,
We
right.
just reported, Go Local
Yeah,
just reported
yeah.
today, the city solicitor had advised the council and council staff that because they were negotiating sort of the exit package for
Right.
Muxian, that they weren't allowed to say anything. It's a gag clause, a gag
Right.
clause that no
I
disparagement.
don't like gag clauses in public service.
In public
You know,
service, we talked about it.
There are some personal issues. There are some personal issues that people, managers, whether it's the mayor, or the president, or the governor, what should have some discretion over. But I think as a general principle, that stuff should all be in the open.
Does that not
as opposed to the
look
private
good?
sector? Because again, if you've got all this stuff in secret, it undermines trust. And sometimes kind of unfairly undermines trust because maybe nothing seamy is going on. But maybe there is something seamy going on. So there's a sort of I think an obligation to always err on the sides of transparency. The other thing is, if something bad happens, get it out there quickly. It's like the famous Tylenol case many years ago. Somebody had adulterated some Tylenol or something, and the head of the company, I can't remember the name of the pharmaceutical, got right out there. We apologized, was right out there like an hour later.
Yes.
That's
Classic
the way to
PR
do it.
management.
You make a mistake and you move on. And you cover up things like this. It's this sort of corrosion from the suspicion that something's going on. It's a sweetheart deal, or we're covering up some greater scandal.
I'm just looking outside because
Yeah.
people are going down the street.
Well, yeah,
ATVs.
but they're demonstrating. They're demonstrating.
ATVs. I mean, we know they're.
Yeah.
I think no, they're
Well, I
illegal.
told you, people are moving in at just incredible rates. They're fleeing here from Florida because of the global warming. The water is rising, and here they are.
No, I believe ATV use on streets is prohibited. I will
Yeah.
check into that. I'm going to go
Yeah.
chase them down right
Well,
now.
maybe they took care of somebody, so everything's all right.
Well, if it was a little loud, that's
Yeah,
why a little
yeah,
ATV and
yeah.
Wade boss it. So I have my notes
Yeah.
here. You have
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
notes
yeah,
here,
yeah.
and I want to talk about
Your
something.
notes are more interesting.
No,
Yeah,
my notes
yeah,
are based
yeah,
off what
yeah.
you wrote.
Let me see, mine started out in Xanadu Kublik. No, that's the wrong one. Okay. Okay, what I wrote, one of the things I'm writing about in this column is I discovered.
The coming column.
Yeah. the
Take a look
coming
this
one,
weekend.
Coming one. Something very interesting, I think very significant. Some of the big asset managers, the mutual fund managers, people in New York, are now basically getting rid of their stock analysts, very high-paid stock analysts, to decide to just computerize the whole thing. So the whole thing will in effect be done by robots. And what this means, the ultimate effect of this, certainly, especially in New York, the financial center, and ultimately in London and some of the other places where the market's so important, will be a layoff a lot of people, and it will implode, I think, a lot of the financial services business, because these stock analysts, many they're very high paid, the fund managers, they're going to be replaced by robots. So the same kind of thing that's been happening in other fields, even the law, where a lot of the routine legal stuff now can be done by some guy living in Mumbai, in fact, is being done by somebody who lives in Mumbai.
But you raised positions being taken over by automated services.
That's what's really we're being well paid. The blue collar elite, a lot of them, have been thrown out of work. A lot of them voted for Donald Trump. He's not going to be able to help them, but because it's automation. But never mind that. Now it's going up the food chain
It is going
to
up the food
well-paid people. Even a lot of the doctor jobs. Some of the internist jobs will be done, more and more will be done by nurse practitioners, PAs. They're well paid, but nothing like primary care docs. But when you see it in Wall Street, where some of these people are paid astronomical sums of money, $1 million, $2 million a year, to trade stocks and bonds, a lot of those people could be out of a job. So they'll no longer be able to bid up the price of houses in Greenwich, Connecticut, in places like that. So it's gonna have a very important look at BlackRock, which is the world's biggest asset manager. They made an announcement, I think yesterday, the day before yesterday, about how they're gonna move all this stuff a lot of this stuff to data analysis and automatic trading.
Well, keep an eye on that. Bob
Yeah.
Whitcomb's going to write about it in his
Yeah.
upcoming column. Always appreciate, again,
Okay.
as we said, local to international and
Yeah.
everything in between.
It's all one story.
It's all one story, but a great read. Bob Whitcomb's weekly column on Go Local. Bob.
Okay, see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.